not tried this at home, but do try the flipping. Whoa! Alright. This video, we're going to be talking about the flipped classroom design. I'm very excited about this, and it's perhaps the best way to do it. So I just wanted to start with a little visual. Yes, it's turning the class upside down. But the way I see it, it's really the original idea for great learners. Because great learners always come to class prepared. I've always said that. The idea that you have to go home and read ahead of the teacher. When I became a great student at some point in my life, it was when I started to realize that I would do better in class if I came to class already kind of knowing what the teacher was going to be talking about. So I started to learn ahead of time, doing work ahead of time. Anything that I could do to arrive to class, almost a master of the material. So the flipped classroom is all about that. It's about the idea of learning at home so that you can practice in school. It's about removing the lecture component from the classroom altogether so that you transform the classroom into a practice-only environment. Removing the content delivery from class allows you to spend more time doing active learning, doing cooperative learning, doing practical learning, doing this classroom discussions, doing labs, activities, all of the wonderful things we've been saying in the previous videos, which teachers have already been doing in class, but at the expense of the material. Instead, you don't have to sacrifice anything, just to deliver the content at home and require the students to learn that at home so that when you come to class, you can use that material. And instead of doing homework for practice, they do practice in class, where there's supervision, instant feedback, and all the good things that the kids are not going to be copying from each other. They're going to work together in ways they're supposed to be working together. It erases all the inherent problems with homework. You grade the things on the spot, less paperwork for teachers. It's the dream come true. But it's not easy to do, or at least not easy to start. And we're going to be talking about what is flipped classroom and how you do it. Now, first of all, it involves doing what I'm doing right now, which is recording your lecture and back broadcasting it to the web, so that students can then go home and record that. Now, this is actually not a new idea. Back in the day, you used to have these video discs and audio discs where the teachers would record their lectures on a tape and disseminate that to the kids. And then the kids will do that along with reading the book to prepare for class. It's also not a new idea to prepare at home so that class is easier. What's a new idea is that if the student does not prepare at home, he cannot engage in the classroom activities and participation, which is what's necessary. So what you do there is you force the student to take charge of their learning. Because by requiring that they watch the videos ahead of time, you are forcing them to still have the lecture. Now, they can do that at their own time with their own attention span, so they can pause, rewind, review, fast forward, skip, go back, watch it again, post questions as comments, participate in online forums. You can do everything the student could do doing a lecture, except at their own time, with their own pace, with their own attention span. And none of that is really necessary for the classroom. Like, oh, but how can you be cool doing a video? How can you do demonstrations doing video? Are you serious? You can do all of that through a video. So there is nothing that the lecture conveys that cannot be conveyed through a video. Which is why now we have these ideas of virtual classrooms or satellite classrooms, where kids don't even go to class, they learn at home. Because the lecture component is completely unnecessary in the classroom. And as we're starting to learn about this, teachers which don't get that are going to become archaic and perhaps out of a job. Because as more and more teachers do a better job, like Khan Academy, Learning for Mastery, Biology in a Minute, Brainstorm, Bozeman Biology, and so many other awesome podcasters out there are doing this. The content on the web is becoming so rich that there is no reason for lecture anymore. Now, a lot of people hear that and start getting scared. And yes, that's true. But we'll talk about why you shouldn't be scared of this and why you should embrace it. All right? So step one is the teacher preparing and recording lectures at home so those lectures can be broadcasted to the school. All right? And then the students will then access that at home and prepare along with the videos with notes provided by the teacher, the textbook, all extra materials provided to the teacher's website in order to come to class already having a basic understanding of the material so they can do mostly practice in class. With that design, the homework is limited to learning the material and to doing exploratory homework. That means there is no such thing as worksheets or little practice things which you can just copy from the internet or from each other, or do it without a supervision or without help or without guidance, without answers, all the problems that are inherent from homework that we talked about in another video. Now, instead, you focus on doing homework that's only exploratory, projects, papers, unique content creation, things like that, which we'll be talking about in future videos. But it's very important to understand that the magic of the flipped classroom is creating more classroom time for you to do the wonderful things you've always wanted to do in class and the things that people say need to be done, but you feel you don't have time to do because you have to deliver the content. You still deliver the content, except you do it through a video, and that's the basic, or an audio podcast. It could be that way too. So some myths about this before we even get started, because when you get to this point, I like to clarify some things that start to scare people. And first of all, he is not teaching anymore. Well, that is a myth. In fact, clearly, as you can see from these videos, and this is an example, you're going to do the same lecture and perhaps even the same demonstrations, the same intensity, the same everything. The only difference is that you do it through a video. And there's nothing that prohibits you from clarifying the most important points in class as well. What you're not doing is spending a lot of time in class doing this, and that's the whole point of it. So you are still a teacher. And in fact, the majority of people who do this kind of teaching, they record their own videos. Even though if I wanted to do this for biology, I can find 7 or 8 different biology teachers doing it already, so I could just get their videos and post it. But I am actually spending time creating my own videos, so it's not like I'm not a teacher anymore. From a little selfish point of view, yes, it does make it easier, because once you lecture once, you don't have to lecture again. You don't need to create, like for example, on a typical year, I would lecture 5 times the same thing every day. So it becomes this repetitive lecture without creativity, you know? Instead, I record one video now that everybody watches it. And sometimes even students which are not my students are watching this across the world. So it actually makes it easier for you as a teacher in the sense of removing that repetition of the lecture out. And you just basically re-record your videos if you find better ways of explaining things and things like that. But you only have to do that once. So that's the magic of it. Also, the other magic of it is that the lecture can be administered a one-on-one kind of, because each student can watch the lecture on themselves, pause, rewind, things I already talked about. So it becomes a super lecture, in my opinion. All right. You can also add visuals and presentations and all kinds of things to your video with proper editing, and basically you're really hyping your lecture beyond anything that could possibly be done in class, in my opinion. Now, the other problem with this is that people think that teachers are being lazy when they do this. They just don't want to teach. They want to like do the lecture once and then come to class, give a bunch of worksheets, and then the kids don't. That's it, you know. It makes your job a lot easier as a teacher. Well, I have to be honest with you. It makes your job a lot harder, especially the first year you're doing this, because now you not only have to make awesome lectures, spend some time editing these videos, which is time consuming. I usually will spend about 20 minutes planning, and then 15 minutes recording, and then 10 minutes processing each video before it's telecasted. So it's like, typically it will take me about a time of one class to do one video, and I have a lot of classes to cover and a lot of topics to cover, so it does take a lot of time to do this. It is a very big time investment. And in the future years, you don't just reuse your old videos, you can always go back and change them, so you are still working hard as an educator. And not only that, but now that you have the classroom time free from doing lecture, you have to plan to do something in that time. You have to have activities ready, you have to have discussions ready, all kinds of stuff. So if you don't actually work hard to create content, you actually do the opposite of being a good teacher. You become a bad teacher because you don't have nothing to do in class. It is a lot more work, actually, in a way, because what you're doing is you have to spend time lecturing at home, and you also have to spend time in class being a super teacher, because it does take a lot of time and organization to control the classroom. But when you actually get it done, it will decrease your workload while increasing grades and increasing learning. So it's all very worth it, and we're going to be talking about how that works. But it's definitely not that teachers being lazy. Also, Another big myth is that says that if the student has no access to technology, he cannot succeed in class because he can't watch the videos. Well, that's not exactly true. For example, if you're having problems with internet, I usually provide the students with a disk that has all my videos inside of it, or a flash card drive that the students can take that at home and still watch it. If you do not have access to computers, period, at home, which nowadays is, I don't even believe it, because 99% of families have computers at their house. And in fact, I did a survey of my students, and about 90% of them have smartphones. So this whole thing about I have no way to watch these videos is definitely not true. So that's another myth, all right? First of all, the myth is that technology is a new thing. It's not. Everybody has it. And the second myth is that if you don't have it, I will find ways to cope with you. For example, there's always the opportunity for kids to watch the videos in class. I have laptops and Wi-Fi in class so that the kids can watch that in class if they fail to watch it at home. But that does deprive them of the other things we're doing in class, which is the whole point of doing this. So I try to stimulate them to actually use the video at home, all right, as their homework. Another myth about this is that only a few students actually master the material. Actually, this is the opposite. With this program, a lot of kids will actually master more than the other one. You lose less kids during lecture. You open the opportunity for multiple activities during class, which allows to diversify the material. We're going to be talking about the advantages in another video. And it is better, all right? And so it's not true that, in fact, you can couple this with something called a mastery program, and then it makes it even better. We'll talk about that in a future video as well. Another myth about this is that it's all about the technology and the videos. No, flipping is about the videos. It is not true. Although the videos are an important component, so you can take some of that content delivery away from the classroom, the whole point of flipping is creating a class where you can practice. So it's not about the videos. It's about creating time for discussions, student-created content, presentations, sharing, cooperative learning, active learning, all kinds of stuff in class. It's creating a better quality classroom environment where you take away the dying lecture from the education and you add to that the wonderful things which are going to sponsor the greatness in technology and advancement that we expect out of our kids. Inquiry, critical thinking, and all those wonderful things. All right? Now, some hints for teachers. Keep your video short, less than 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes is best. If you feel that you need to lecture for 45 minutes because it's a long topic and that's what you usually would do in a classroom, try to break it apart inside of small videos instead of doing one big video. So find natural points where the videos can be cut and or hit each small topic per video and try to keep it under 10 minutes if possible, but less than 15 minutes for sure. Also, provide a lecture guide. In other words, just like I did for this video series, have a set of notes that goes along with the order of the topics that you're talking about, and also provide additional notes that students can learn, like a textbook from at home, so that kids that don't learn from videos can still do what they usually do. Another important hint is that beware of technology in the classroom. Yes, you need to use it, but at the same time, you have to use it with care. There's a special video we're going to be talking about that, and make sure the kids are using the technology correctly. Make sure that you know how to use the technology. Make sure that there's no problems with technical difficulties with the technology. Make sure you're ready to do it, all right? We'll talk about this in another video later on, technology in the flipped classroom. Another one that's another hint is that make sure you have Wi-Fi in your classroom with enough bandwidth for kids that need to watch the videos in class, and also hopefully devices that they can do that at home. And a good hint is to actually have one of those hard drives that you can store information inside with the videos in it, so that students can connect to it via Wi-Fi and then create a share media drive, basically, so that they can connect that way. That bypasses YouTube, which is blocked in a lot of schools, but I will also talk about some ways of bypassing that in another video as well. Finally, here's some of the tools you're going to need for it. For web pages like Google Sites, Wikispaces, WordPress, Edmodo, or TeacherWeb are very important if you're going to flip. You need a place to put all this stuff in. You also need classroom management systems, can be very useful to keep track of grades and things like that. Moodle and Blackboard are good examples. Software for adding the videos and capturing images, Camtasia, Snagit, and Jing are good examples. And hardware, like a web camera, a professional microphone, so they can record the audio well, so otherwise you have audio problems, and kids don't like to watch videos with audio problems. And a tablet, or something that you can use to write on the screen, which is very important as well. And finally, to stay connected with this movement, the founders of the movement, called Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sims, are very helpful. And Aaron Sims even hosts a teacher vodcasting network that has a lot of information for teachers like this. And I also have two more teachers which are very helpful, called Brett Wheely and Brian Bennett. All of these people are ready and willing to help you, so stay in touch with them. By the way, Aaron and Jonathan are two chemistry teachers which invented this concept, and you can learn about them by visiting Learning for Mastery channel on YouTube. All right, get out there and flip.